in terms of, you were talking about the new entrant into the political space, those who came in fresh and maybe out of shock they're winning the next election. What do you think they'll be looking at? Again, when you look at the Global Competitiveness Index, we have things like institutions. Would they be pursuing the building of institutions? I mean, those new entrants, or would they be looking at how to regain their investment?
So, Prof, just before you answer that question, I was about rounding up, but the information was coming from our master control room that we are not rounded up. So we'll just give you this piece of information before Prof goes on to answer the question asked by Nelta. Our viewers here in Nigeria and around the world, please note the flagship news at 10 will come up after the expected announcement of more election results from the INEC National Collation Center. We will take those announcements as we expect to hear from the INEC chairman anytime from about 10 o'clock. It'll be after that the news at 10, the flagship news of channels will come up, and then the coverage of the verdict will continue thereafter, possibly with more analysis, more discussions, and of course, more election announcement results. So we thank you for staying with us. And Prof, you may now proceed.
Before Prof comes in to answer that, I was actually taking you to Sean, who initially mentioned the new entrants. Yeah. How many do we have? You being the political journalist here, tell us, how many new entrants do we have coming into the political space, and how many of them won?
A lot of
the
them.
Results we've gotten so
far. We've seen a few of them who have come out. For example, we've seen Ofanyi Uba, who's won on the platform of a new political party, YPP, in Anambra State. He's defeated those who have become a sort of institution in that state, the two Uba brothers, who ran from different political parties. You remember Chris Uba, Senator Uba, who is an incumbent APC senator, and now he's going to be one of those who are coming in fresh. There are others who are governors who are going, they call them retiring into, they always say retiring into the National Assembly. But we've had a few of them. Some of them have lost, not like Senator Bukola Saraki. He's lost out. And now we're having someone like Abiola Ajimabi, the governor of Oyo State, who has also lost his election. But we find someone like Orji Uzokalo, the former governor in Abia State, who is returning to the National Assembly. You remember in the early 90s, he was in the House of Representatives. We have someone also like Rocha Zokorocha, who is likely to get a ticket from what we are hearing on the ground. So there are going to be an interesting National Assembly. We've had governors who perhaps will be having more. For those who are perhaps like Banky W from Etiosa in Lagos, if he's able to get the win in Lagos to get into the National Assembly, there will be some weeks and months of shock for them, because the political terrain and the template that you find there will give you a sort of shock, especially when you're coming from the private sector. You have to adjust, you have to learn the ropes, and it might take you perhaps half of the tenure, about 4 years that you have. It might take you 2 years to get accustomed to it. Before you know it, you're seeking another election.
So I think Sean was right, but why Sean speaks to the fears of this new assembly. Let's talk about he's spoken about the hopes. Let's look at the fears, and that is we are losing legislative experience. What do I mean by we are losing legislative experience? In the upper chamber, out of 109 senators, only 13 of them were in 2007, 2011, 2015. Only 13 out of 109 senators were in the House since 2007. So we need to look at why it's important to get new ideas. How do we ensure that the legislative experience of managing and running governance effectively isn't lost?
Okay. Absolutely. And look, when it comes to lawmaking, it has to be with experience. First and foremost, you have to contend the fourth day of sitting when the National Assembly is convoked. What you find is the jostle for the leadership position in the National Assembly.
Yes, Shehu, but people talk about that experience argument. But how do you get experience if you never are allowed a chance. It's just like when you tell a young person, don't apply for this job, you need 5 years experience. But then how do you get that experience if you're not given a chance to be on the job?
Democracy is like the United States. You find senators who have spent 6, 7, 8 terms. And for those, some of them, maybe they're in the defense committee or the finance committee, give it to them, they've had loads and loads of experience. Sometimes you could start from the lower chamber, from the green chamber, and you move up to the red chamber. Some of these experience matter. We find people who have been in the state houses of assembly and they move up the ladder that way. Some will retire based on old age, or some being defeated and not being able to return. But one thing that we cannot take away is the experience that is needed in making laws. Don't forget, politicking is at the height of lawmaking also in the National Assembly.
Okay, Prof. Now, one of the things when we talk about our country, Nigeria, we talk about the need to build institutions, to build infrastructure. Now, Sheon has told us that with this new entrants who've come in, they're going to have to learn the ropes. And then one would have hoped that with them coming in with, usually with that enthusiasm about I'm going in there, I'm going to do new things, I'm going to help to build institutions. That means they're not going to be building institutions. They're going to be learning the ropes. How would that help us?
Actually, in well-developed countries, when they have new entrants like that, they go through proper orientation first, where they are taught, and they even assign them to older legislators so that they can be mentored. They are not left hanging, they are not left orphaned. But unfortunately in our system, which I wouldn't say I've completely understood it, but I've monitored, there's very little orientation. People are often left to sink or swim. And that leads to errors, that leads to mistakes, some irrecoverable. So there needs to be, and let me also say this, before ever you go into such high leadership positions, there are background experiences that prepare you, either in your business. Many of them have gone through military training. I'm using US as an example, which have made them rugged, ability to adapt. Many of our people don't have such privilege. So there's a need to establish a strong institution, and I believe they have one, but the question is, are they effective in making sure they are prepared at least the first 6 months in their legislative experience to make sure they can navigate? Unfortunately, we don't take time to prepare our people.
Are you saying we should be looking to 2023, because some of this is long term, yes, and this election has come and I won't say has gone because we have another one on the 9th of March. So is this something long term, or I don't know? What do you think will happen for the 9th of March? Well,
you mean after this election, for those that come in, there ought to be, and by the way, our institute, I'm not trying to advertise us, that's part of what we do. We do it for military and all this. There's a need for rigorous orientation, taking them through, first of all, having experienced legislators come and tell them and open their minds to the journey. When somebody knows what's coming in the future, they are better prepared to handle it. So they need to go through rigorous training, rigorous orientation, case studies, and by the time they encounter those problems, they're ready. Unfortunately, I don't think and let me also say one thing. It's one thing to go abroad, Harvard University, and do a training, but it's not contextualized in terms of cultural and specific issues that you will experience in your own country. So it's good to go abroad, but we need our own contextualized, culture, interwoven training that helps our people to navigate and able to, especially the ability to work across the opposition. Even the way we view opposition in this country is almost like two heavyweight boxers wearing gloves. Sometimes when I watch Mr. Shegu, I think he demonstrates that political opposition. One of the things we've done in Uganda, we have worked with legislators from across the aisle that now they actually have fellowship. We have taught them to understand that opposition is opposition of ideology. It's not antagonistic. When you see a good thing that the other person is doing, you ought to commend it. You need to support it. It doesn't mean that every idea from the opposing party is a negative idea. But opposition means to carefully watch and critically look at their policies. Where there are gaps, you expose it. Not to cast it down, but to actually make it stronger to the benefit of the people. We don't understand that mentality of opposition.
How long do you think it will take for us to have that kind of mentality, being as you're one who knows about transformation, etc.?
Well, it's not a question of how long, it's how rigorous the program is and how consistent it is. I have seen this happen over a period of 1 year with consistent training and people also being willing and being open to accept